Pointless job training. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, because I want to look at a few things about the government's new $1.2 billion scheme to support thousands of new tradies. Now, my concern is that it's going to be completely pointless, that you'll have a whole lot of tradies been given a first year of apprenticeship and then chucked aside. Now, we all remember, or maybe some of you don't, back in July this year, I did a video about All Trades Queensland going into administration. That's a centralized training organization. Just hearing some of the stories from people there who one of the advantages was you could do your apprenticeship across a whole range of different businesses, but you weren't guaranteed a job after. And it really was dependent on a whole lot of individual initiative to take advantage of it. And there were a lot of sad stories that people mentioned about all trades and just the challenges they had in getting their apprenticeship. And we've got to remember, youth unemployment, I understand, it's high. We just looked at an ABC article recently that was referring to the ABS, where it's over 20.7%. That's much higher than the general unemployment rate. And the danger is you'll get scarring of the youth. They can't get back into the job market. So, of course, the government wants to get training, wants to generate more jobs. And you've got to, this is an older article, but it's to discuss the completion rate of apprentices. So the completion rate for apprentices and trainees who commenced in 2014 has decreased to 56.7%, down from 59%. So back then, completion rate about bit over 50, 60%, we'll say. 60% get through it, which is, doing an apprenticeship is hard, guys. Maybe someone has another opportunity or another job or something happens. Just life happens. Life happens. But they're chucking everything at it. And I'm really worried that you're going to have a whole lot of people just hired because they're cheap for the first year of their apprenticeship, and then they'll go, sorry mate, we can't keep you, we got no more work, you got to go after 1 year. Then what'll happen? Then there'll be a flood of apprentices out there when unemployment's still high, when we're just 1 year into a recession, maybe the economy's starting to pick up. What are they going to do? Guys? You've got to remember, this isn't free money that the government is throwing at this. They're going to make the people who are doing the apprentices pay it back in the future, one way or another. The federal government will inject more than $1 billion for cut price apprenticeships to support businesses that want to hire new tradies. Well, you're not really a tradie until you finish your apprenticeship. Honestly, you're not. You're learning, which is good. People need to learn. But I'm just worried about the unintended consequences, guys. This is another government intervention into the market, artificially lowering the value of these apprentices. What's going to happen? The federal government will inject $1.2 billion into the economy to support the employment of 100,000 new apprenticeship and trainee schemes across Australia. Well, let's not even before we even go any further. What about all the RTAs around the country? Just all the registered training authorities or organizations. What's an RTA? Hang on. What's an RTA? Residential Training Association. No. Well, you know what I mean, guys. All those dodgy little one shop, one office place that'll give you a free laptop if you sign up to their course, and we've all heard the stories. I even had a friend. She went and did a nursing degree with one of the less prestigious universities, and the whole qualification was thrown out, and they all got screwed over. So you got to be careful with this. This is an overheating of a market, everyone. Why do we need 100,000 new apprentices when the economy's in the toilet? It's just going to be. We'll have to see how it ties into the new Australia, the manufacturing focus that the PM's pushing. So ahead of Tuesday's federal budget, the Morrison government says it will introduce a 50% wage subsidy for businesses which take on a new apprentice. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said the package forms part of the federal government's recovery plan from the economic recession sparked by the pandemic. During this pandemic, the federal government has been focused on supporting and creating jobs, as well as identifying the skills we need in the economy to rebuild, Mr. Morrison said. Whether it's the manufacturing, housing and construction, arts or mining sectors, this new wage subsidy gives businesses certainty to hire and provide a career push or career path to aspiring young tradies. Well, it's just for 1 year, isn't it? What would you rather? Maybe cut that down to a quarter and subsidize it for their whole apprenticeship, or even cut it down even more and give people a completely, make it competition based, and they can go all the way through. Mr. Morrison also noted 760,000 jobs have returned to the jobs market since the initial shutdown in March, which has already caused the nation's unemployment rate to rise to 6.8. Well, I mean, that's kind of not really relevant. It's well known that the ABS, and they picked a perfect still there of him, but still, the 6.8 isn't relevant. We can look at the Roy Morgan data, guys. I'll bring that up. I haven't shown it for a while. We can have a look here. This is the Roy Morgan Employment Estimates 2021. And we'll look at the underemployment and underemployment rate. We scroll down here. They're saying we're at 12. The ABS is saying we're at 6.8. Roy Morgan are saying we're at 12.9. Generally double the ABS to get a more accurate representation. Now, I don't know about you, but 1 hour work during the survey period wouldn't be enough for me to be considered employed. I think people spend more time on their hobbies than they do with what the ABS would consider employment. So, the subsidy scheme will start from Monday and will be available until the 100,000 quota is reached. I mean, would you jump in on this, guys? I mean, if you're taking an apprentice anyway, why not? Why not? But would this encourage people to take someone on, maybe make that leap? Oh, we'll get them half price. Don't worry about if we've got enough work for them for the whole apprenticeship. We'll just turf them when we don't need them. Employees will be able to subsidize apprentice wage by 50% or $7,000 per quarter until the 30th of September 2021. Employment Minister Michaela Cash said the additional support is on top of the existing $2.8 billion trainee wage schemes, which is already in place for trade-based professionals. And this is just more for our housing obsession here in Australia, a housing and construction obsession here in Australia, guys. Is it like this in other parts of the world? I think we're special in that regards. The Australian government has already invested significantly to ensure the apprentices are retained where possible and supported to re-engage if they lose their jobs. Yes, but how many apprentices have you heard about it? They've gone 1 year and they just can't get back in. They can't get back in. There's no work. If there's no work. So this is the thing. You're stimulating the economy by providing more training to people. It would be great if they reduced the costs and burdens on businesses, and then maybe that would be how they could afford to do it. But that's not how they think, is it? You don't win votes by doing that. Ms. Cash said apprenticeship and trainees are usually the first people stood down during a recession, noting the scheme would ensure around 52,000 employers would be able to keep 90,000 people on the books. So that's what they're worried about. They're worried about it's not going to create any new jobs, I bet you. It's just going to keep people employed. Labor Shadow Treasurer Jim Chalmers said the scheme falls short of restoring much-needed funding to a sector that has been crippled for years. It doesn't fully restore the billions of dollars which have been ripped out of training over the last 7 years, he said. There is no vision for the future of training in this announcement, nothing for young people and how they grasp the opportunities of the recovery and make sure that we can teach and train people for technological and economic change. Why would we do that in Australia? We just do property. Come on, mate. Come on, Jim. We just do property here in Australia. You buy a house and flip it, then negative gear it, pay interest only, and repeat. Come on. Get with the program. Read some more domain articles, mate. Seriously. Apprenticeship network provider MEGD said it welcomes the additional funding and closes the loop for financial support for the trainee sector. Of course you welcome additional money. The general manager, Paul Bennett, said the injection will enable employers to put on additional new workers. What's the point of putting on people if there's no work to do it? Let's have a look here. Look, this is building approvals. Okay, houses are going up. Home builders made an impact on it. Look at that dark blue line. Private sector dwellings excluding houses. Look at that plunge from 2017. You know what that is? That's apartments. That's apartments. So say you're an apprentice working in that sector. You know, you're maybe a plasterer. Oh, sure, you can shift to housing. Oh, wait a minute. There's not as many. there's not as many, guys. If there's no work, chucking money at training isn't going to generate the work. Sure, it'll have a flow through, but still, come on. The supporting apprentices and trainee subsidy is helping employers to retain their current apprentices, but until now, there's been limited support to encouraging businesses to take on new ones. The initiative will go a long way towards ensuring new starter numbers climb in the right direction. And there you go, and they've published it at half-price apprenticeships for new tradies. And let's have a look. Let's have a look here at this media release from our Prime Minister, transforming Australian manufacturing to rebuild our economy. Now, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know one of my bugbears is the lack of economic complexity here in Australia. We're 73rd in the world, guys. And that's to do with what's manufactured here in Australia. And as an architect, I try to be nationalistic and specify Australian-made products. Simply because if there's a maintenance issue or you need to replace something, the idea is it would be easier to access if it was manufactured in the country, particularly for remote jobs or big projects. One thing I like to think about is toilets. We'd often specify Caroma toilets because, well, they're good quality and they were locally manufactured. One of the few factories that did. Rachel even went and got a tour of the factory. Where do you think they're all manufactured now? Overseas. The number of times, I built up a whole back office management system where I track every product, when I try and find where the factories were owned, where I could do the flow path of it all, to try and identify what was made in Australia. I mean, you can do all of that. You can do it as the architect, you can do all of that, specify it. And I've had this on a job, a big mining job. We'd specified some high quality scope fridges over from New Zealand. And I mean, they're virtually a part of Australia, guys. It's good quality product, good fridges. What happened? Well, the builder found a product that was exactly the same, and only a quarter the price. Just happened to be made in China, so they spec'd it in. Well, the difference between the products was the warranty for the imported knockoff required the fridge to be turned off every few hours so it wouldn't overheat. Okay? A fridge. I don't mind. So, I mean, there you go. But that's with regards to the economic complexity. Now, with regards to two suggestions, I'll bring up another website here. I'm just finding it. Bear with me. The Harvard Atlas. Now, the Harvard Atlas also has Australia at a low economic complexity level, but they've got suggestions with regards to how Australia should grow and what we should target. They're ranking us at 87th in the world. 87th. And it'll be interesting to see if, we protecting certain industries, certain areas where we have a competitive advantage, if the PM has picked up on that. And I'd be shocked if they haven't. So let's have a look here. So, the Morrison government is launching a new era of Australian manufacturing as part of our job maker plan to rebuild the economy, create jobs and recover from the recession. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said the $1.5 billion in new funding will be invested over the next 4 years in the modern manufacturing strategy to make Australian manufacturing more competitive, resilient and able to scale up to take on the world. It sounds good. I'm completely skeptical. We're not going to have the economies of scale of other nations. We will make things in Australia. We do it well. Do we? We need to keep making things in Australia, and with this strategy we will. The crisis opens a new chapter for Australian manufacturing as a revitalised source of high-wage jobs, valuable exports and national income. Our modern manufacturing strategy is at the heart of our job maker plan. It starts with creating a stable and competitive business environment to grow all our parts of our manufacturing sector, but it does not end there. It will play to Australia's strengths, improve collaboration and commercialisation, and create a sector that is modern, dynamic and highly skilled. Well, Australia's strengths are digging stuff out of the ground and flipping houses. That's our strength, is, keeping property, just pushing on, throwing everything at property. Building the populace's wealth in property to stimulate the economy through the wealth effect. Would that be fair in arguing that that's our strengths? Maybe I'm just being a bit bitter and old. Through this strategy, We are determined to ensure government, industry, and the research and education sectors are all working in one direction to build scale in our manufacturing sector. Manufacturing is critical to Australia's economic future, to the prosperity of our regions, and to the capabilities that underpin the success of so many other industries. Minister for Industry, Science and Technology, Karen Andrews, said the strategy reflects the lessons learned during the pandemic, as well as extensive work with industry before that. Our manufacturers have risen to the challenge to deliver during the pandemic, and now we're unlocking their potential to deliver for our future. Let's see if they implement special economic regions that significantly reduce the burden and intervention in those regions to allow manufacturing to compete on an equal footing overseas. Let's see if they even suggest that. I doubt it. It's just going to be I bet it'll be money thrown to sectors that have the greatest political leverage. We'll see. Do you think property will be in there? Minister for by playing to our strengths, strategically investing and boosting the role of science and technology in industry, we can open up new markets and take more and take more of our quality products to the world. I've had friends who've studied science, they got out of it, just no work in Australia. I watched another YouTuber, Daily Rants, who was just, he had a physics degree and couldn't get work in Australia. I've met people who have come from overseas and have completed postgraduate qualifications here in Australia and wanted to settle here, but couldn't find work. So, this strategy sends a clear signal that not only is Australia open for business, but we mean business. Well, you haven't said what you're doing. It's just all rhetoric. The centerpiece of the strategy is the $1.3 billion Modern Manufacturing Initiative, which will see the government strategically invest in projects that help manufacturers to scale up and create jobs. Okay, so it's government picking winners. The MMI will support projects in 6 national manufacturing priorities, which reflect Australia's established competitive advantage or emerging areas of priority. So, resource technology and critical minerals processing, mining, food and beverage. Yep. Food, well, we are a potential, maybe that'll be some more water infrastructure investment. Medical products, yep. Recycling and clean energy. How do we have an advantage in clean energy, everyone? Most of what is manufactured here in clean energy is all imported. All the wind turbines, all imported. Recycling, sure, we have some advanced ways of reusing plastics and converting it into oil, but it's kind of worthless now because the price of oil is so low. Defense and space, okay? Fantastic. Most of our helicopter fleets are, European. We can't even build our own submarines here. It's all imported. Space, okay, cool. We used to be the leaders in it. Australia used to be an innovative nation. We were right at the cutting edge of a lot of stuff. I think we've fallen behind too far. See, none of this is just picking winners. What I would love to see would be a special economic region where you remove all of the red tape and onerous requirements on it. Will you make it easier to employ people? Will you make it easier for people to change jobs where maybe workers are incentivized to work there with changes to conditions because they can access their super instantly? Maybe you've got removed fringe benefit tax so they can have business lunches there. Maybe other perks. These are just ideas I'm chucking out. Why not? We're spending $1.3 billion on picking winners. Why don't we try and create hubs that can just generate and grow from there? Maybe the government gets off the back of business and people in these areas, and we test it out. Here's an idea. Maybe make it an area where no political advertising at all. That should be the whole country. I shouldn't say that. They advertise on YouTube. So, this is about Australia playing to its strengths and the government strategically investing in areas of manufacturing where we know we have an edge that can deliver the jobs we need. Industry will be engaged to co-design tailored roadmaps for each of the priority sectors to set clear goals over the next 2, 5, and 10 years and identify the barriers and opportunities that will guide action and investment. Yay, we're going to have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 2-year plan. Wow, comrade, fantastic. We'll produce this many boots by summer. The strategy will also address the competitiveness of individual manufacturers in our priority sectors, with a $52.8 million expansion of the Manufacturing Modernisation Fund. The COVID-19 crisis has also highlighted the need to better understand and address our supply chain issues and opportunities. A $107.2 million supply chain resilience initiative will support projects that address an identified supply chain vulnerability. It's about incentivizing industry to take advantage of opportunities to provide both domestic and global supply chains with critical products, Minister Andrews said. Innovation and Science Australia will be repurposed as Industry Innovation and Science Australia to provide a long-term perspective on growing the manufacturing sector and strong industry advice to government throughout the implementation of the strategy. The government is also comprehensively reviewing existing industry programs to better align them with the strategy. As part of this, we'll provide an additional $50 million to the Industry Growth Centres initiative to support projects in the priority areas out until the end of 2022. This strategy builds on the work across government to improve economic conditions for business, including streamlining regulation, cutting red tape, and cutting input costs. A key part of this will be cutting energy costs, as outlined in the gas-fired recovery statement of 2020. Okay, this is the one good thing out of all of this, is cutting energy cost, because that can have a wider impact on it. I'm concerned this is just going to be picking winners. Government picking winners. Government sucks at picking winners. Guys, historically, government sucks at picking winners. We know that. It's given. You can just look at the advantages in, the Wright brothers, what they achieved, bicycle mechanics compared to those competing with them with huge government funding. Look at the rail barons that created rail infrastructure across the states compared to the government interventions. Look at our own NBN compared to the individual private businesses that were just shooting ahead and were restricted from expanding because the government was making a monopoly. Okay? That's the problem, guys. Government sucks at picking winners. The one good thing here is maybe we'll get some cheaper energy here in Australia. That could be the one good thing. Nothing too surprising here. What do you think, guys? What do you think? It'd be interesting if they just looked at ways of getting out of the way rather than picking winners. But you can't win votes with that, can you? Anyway, what's your take on this? Do you think we're going to see, tariffs? Will tariffs be introduced to protect these industries? And you've got to remember, the problem with tariffs, guys, is we pay it. All of us, the consumer, pays it. And just think, if you didn't like the fact that Jerry Harvey forced GST to be put onto purchases overseas from $1,000, well, that's no different than paying a tariff. Just think about that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I created, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next episode.